Hello, I'm Travis Fig, and this is How Do You Figure, the show about whatever I want. Today I want to talk about voting. In particular, I want to address those of you who are considering either not voting or voting third party as a means of protest. I encourage you to research the candidates' platforms. Ask yourself, if the various components of this platform were to be put into place, would people's lives be better? Not ideal, not perfect, but better. Then ask, has the candidate offered a way, at least in theory, these goals could be achieved? Now, you might dislike a candidate because of views they've held in the past. And it's important to look at the views a candidate has held in the past because that tells us something about how they think and what their values are. But it's also important to realize that, as much as politicians are loath to admit ever being wrong, they sometimes change their minds. In fact, expecting a politician to have always been right, even when that view was unpopular, really expects them to be either superhuman or very, very lucky. Now, you might say you don't want to be forced to choose between the lesser of two evils. Okay, but be careful about that kind of rhetoric. For a choice to be between the lesser of two evils requires that both are evil. Again, ask yourself, if the various components of this platform were to be put into place, would people's lives be better? If the answer is yes, then it's pretty disingenuous to call it evil, even if it's not exactly what you would want. Now, you might say the problem is with the system. The system is unjust, and neither candidate is trying to upend the system. To the extent to which the system is unjust is way too big for me to get into here. But you need to weigh the likelihood of your not voting contributing to the system being changed against the cost and loss of benefits of the wrong candidate coming into office. And how are you trying to bring about that change? You could try to convince a critical mass of people to accept your views. And if you're not doing that, well, it seems like either you're doing nothing to bring about change or you're trying to impose your views by force. And finally, you might say you just don't want to uphold the system. But is voting really upholding the system, or is it acknowledging the system and acting within it? And here's a question. Do you have a job? Or are you being supported by a job you used to have? Or by someone who does have a job? Now, you might say, well, I don't have a choice about that. I do have a choice about voting. But you do have a choice about having a job or being supported by someone with a job. It's just that not having an income would have a bad consequences for you. But the wrong candidate being elected would have bad consequences as well.